levels of Wing Chun boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm privileged to be asked by the Grandmaster Leung or Leung Shifu or Shifu Leung, the Grandmaster of the Wing Chun Federation. It's a privilege and also an honor to be asked to narrate the story of Wing Chun. There will be two parts. First is related to the origination of Wing Chun, and then the technical aspects in the second part. Ladies and gentlemen, there are three boxing styles in Wing Chun. The basic style is Xu Yin Tao. In Mandarin, Xiao Liu Tou. Second, Chong Hu. In Mandarin, Chen Qiao. Or arms blocking is the intermediate of the Biu Zhi, or in Mandarin, Biao Zhi, thrust finger or blocking is the highest form. Being the basic style of the system, all beginners must start off with the basic styles. Generally, other Kung Fu styles demand the beginners to practice and get accustomed to their own stabilized horse stance of this system so as to achieve the stability of the body before the basic form is taught. Wing Chun is on a different approach. On the very first lesson, a student is taught the first section movements of the Xiu Nim Tao, or the little idea form or style. This is so because in practicing the style, the student need not to move an inch, and the hand movements of the first section are extremely slow and very time-consuming. Therefore, the first lesson of Xiu Nim Tao, or the little idea, from the beginning to the end of it, means that the completion of the first stage of the horse stand works. It thus explains why Wing Chun Kung Fu students are not required to do horse stance work before the basic exercises. Xu Nian Tao, or little idea, is so named because of its implied special significance. In the basic training, if it is not done properly and correctly, one is doomed to failure. The metaphor here is that if one does not get his little idea straight, his foundation is not soundly known. How could one advance to a higher level without a sound foundation? If one puts his very basic principles or ideas on the wrong footing, little can be achieved despite immense effort. Morally, there are purposes for living, purposes for day-to-day dealings. But if one has one's own little ideas on ambition, naive or decadent foundation, then one's very own lifetime career would be of doubtful and dubious value. Xu Yin Tao, or the little idea, is also known as San Pai Fu, in Mandarin, San Pai Fu, or in the English version, thrice worshipped the Buddha. It is so called because in the opening section we have the one sao, palm up hand, and 3-foot sao, or bridge on hand, and the movements, and the hand is retracted by first changing to Wu Sao, that is protective hand. As the Wu Sao has 4 fingers, the thumb excepted, the tips pointing upward, very much like worshipping the Lord Buddha with one hand. Hence, the origination of the name. The particular characteristics of Xiu Nian Tao are that the practitioner stands firmly without moving the lower part of the back and the stance, and both hands held together or singularly performs some very simple movements. This kind of movements often led other people to believe that the movements correspond to other styles, finite set of movements which are applied in sequence and in a definite pattern, and breakdown of the set into its constituent parts, and there's one movement to overcome another. As a matter of fact, every movement in Wing Chun is not a constituent part of a definite set of movements. Xiu Nian Tao in particular. Often we see both hands together for double hand sao, double jutsu, shock hand, etc. But in application, we not only could break it down and utilize one hand at a time, we could also coordinate the other hand for simultaneous attack and defense. For example, we also have both hands for a double gang sao, thrusting block movement. We could break it down into one hand or a gang sao, and the other coordinates with a straight line punch. Every movement in its practical application of Xiu Nian Tao is multilateral, and certainly is not just one movement or set of movements that is designed for one specific purpose. Now, let us talk about the tangible force and brutal force. How do we distinguish between them? Most people believe that a punch must be concentrated in the arm in order to have a heavy punch or powerful punch. The force concentrated in the arm is merely the work of contracted muscles straining the arm. Punching is a function performed by the extensor muscles. If the arm is strained and made tense by the contracted muscles, and the fist is firmly clenched when punching, then the whole chain of muscles will be like a bar of iron, very stiff. It fools many people that punching this way is the most powerful way, as the arm is strained with force. And yet, punching with the arm strained with force is the work of the contracted muscles, not the extensor muscles. The sensation of power is the extra burden experienced by the extensor muscles of the triceps. In fact, the contracted muscles are hindering the biceps from doing its task. The purpose of punching is to hurt the opponent. Power in the punch decides how much your opponent can be hurt. The power in a punch, therefore, should be felt by the victim and not by the puncher. Why should it be that the sensation be felt by the puncher and not by the victim? It is for this reason that the first lesson to the beginners of Wing Chun Kung Fu is to teach them not to stiffen up the arm with force. Wing Chun demands the practitioners to learn how to relax fully. keeping mentally alert and cool, and the muscles elastic and supple. When the body is fully relaxed, the respiration is easy, cool, and alert. Then the mental process of thinking is very fast. Also, it is easy to control elastic and supple muscles to give fast movements. Next, we talk about the punching, Wen Sao, circling hand, and withdrawing the fist. Either punching or palm thrust when the hand is extended. The elbow should be kept close to the vertical midline. The hand needs not to be tense, but it must be fully outstretched. When the punch is out, the palm is then opened to make a circular movement by bending the hand backwards, and the wrist rotates once before closing the palm for the fist and to withdraw the hand. Wing Chun reckons upon Yao. Yao is that which is pliable and flexible, that which yields to the strong but overcomes the weak. It is very hard to snap a stick of rattan because it possesses the quality of Yao, which enables it to be bent or straightened in response to an external force. A stiff stick of timber may crack under external force because of its inflexibility and a resistance to the force. If being bitten with a stick of rattan, the pain resulted is far more greater than that of a stick of timber. It is self-explanatory why Wing Chun utilizes the quality of rattan as the basis of execution of power. When the Wing Chun man's arm bridges the opponent's, he must always apply the adherent clinging power likened to that of rattan. This power is a positive, unintermitting, continuous flow of energy and is of a constant magnitude. The power is a total surrounding force, like air or water pressure, which the opponent would find it hard to pinpoint the source, even though the hand is sensing its pressure. Furthermore, the opponent would find himself in a very difficult situation, not knowing whether to advance by forcing his way. He would find the pressure increasingly strong. If he tries to retreat, the pressure would cling on to him relentlessly. The key words of Leung Chun: stay with what comes, follow through as it retreats, thrust forward as the hand is free, refer to the adhering clinging power of the system. Two men in confrontations and the arms are in contact. The arms become the medium of contact, very similar to the bridge joining both banks of a river. Thus, in Kung Fu terminology, the arm is often referred to as the bridge, and the process of having the arms making contact is called bridging. This is so because the opponent could not feel the source of power, which otherwise would enable him to sense the direction of the force and to find an easy way out, as it is a total surrounding force, like the casting of a net, giving the opponent no chance to gain ground or escape. In fact, the Wing Chun man is maintaining the same magnitude of force throughout, and because it is flexible and springy under external pressure, the opponent would find that the greater the pressure is exerted, the greater the resistance will be returned. Indeed, the opponent is having a taste of his own medicine as the force he is applying is turning against him as the coil spring has not increased or decreased its power in the least. Next, we shall relate to the origination of Wing Chun, or Gu Yi Chuan. Gu Yi, ancient chivalrous, and Wing Chun boxing. Wing Chun boxing has a great number of practitioners in the Fushan area of Canton province, and may be considered an equal to the compatriot of the Hong Xing style. Hong Ga boxing was popular with the laborers, and Wing Chun boxing found widespread favor among the merchant class. Wing Chun boxing strives for least movement, height strength with suppleness, and can be practiced in the space of a few square feet, even in a small room. As emphasis is placed in poking and tearing, short close strikes, a narrow bent knee stance, and suppleness over brutal force, the sophisticated scholars and businessmen could also practice it. The story of Wing Chun has been passed through generation to generation. At times went by while practitioners knew its name. Most did not know the details of the origin of Wing Chun. Chinese martial arts was originated in the Shaolin Temple from the monk Tam Mo's development of 18 Lo Han form, which he taught his followers in order to revive the weak and restore the vitality. And it was the monk Xu Yang who enhanced upon Damo's technique, and it was originally of Yan Chao. His secular was O. His personal name was being San Song Yok. He beseeched Damo to accept him as a pupil, and after Damo's death, thereupon proceeded to expand the 18 Lohan movements to 72. Subsequently, he is said to have traveled throughout the country, and at Lanzhou made the acquaintance of Li Leung and Bat Il-fung, where he accepted as students. Later, Li Leung adopted the monastic life and became a priest. Li Leung had learned both the skills of Bat Il-fung and the monk Xu Yang, fusing the three methods into one, created a system of 108 movements. On his own, after becoming a monk, Li Leung developed a 6 1/2 point staff. The art was passed on to Abbot Fahai, and from him to 5 others, Ng Mui, Chi Xing Ba Mei, Fong Dok Duk, and Li Ba San. Of these 5, Li Ba San died without passing on the art. Fong Dok Duk escaped from the Shaolin Temple and studied Taoism at Mogdang San. There he learned the remnants of Chu San Fang's teachings, and as a result became an important figure in the Mogdang sect. Qi Xing became the supervisor of the Shaolin Temple, and Ng Mui lived in seclusion at the south of Bac Ho Kong. By chance, she happened to observe a crane and a fox involved in combat, the outcome of which left the fox thoroughly defeated. Leung was inspired by the sharp talons and the facile movement of the crane, and consequently single-mindedly set out to develop a more natural skill, the result of which is today's white crane style. Later, it is said she traveled to Guizhou, where she encountered Miao San, and while traveling, passed her art on to him. Miao San and Leung also create the best of the complementary techniques of their respective systems, another boxing set which they called Gu Yi Chuan, or ancient chivalrous boxing. This was later passed on to Yim Li Gong and to my teacher, Gao Ji Fa Sao, the nine-fingered Buddha hand. Both of them received Miao San's teaching, and when he died, according to his explanation, although his skill was learned from Leung, he himself had developed it into a new style. Therefore, it is quite different from white crane, being of his own design. It was only transmitted by Yim It Gong and Gao Ji Fa Sao, as no others knew or understood Gu Yi Chuan. They were instructed that they were not to casually accept students. As a result, Yim It Gong, even after he mastered the art, didn't dare to pass it on to others. When his wife passed away, he was left with only his daughter, and no male heirs. Accordingly, he cherished her dearly. In Guizhou, he established a bean curd shop, and the two shared the labor. In his spare time, he taught his daughter Yim Wing Chun how to box, and after several years of practice, she was already showing promise. The locals, however, knew nothing of this, and when Yen Gong passed away, his daughter taught her husband Leung Qing Lao what she had learned. After her death, her husband moved to Guangxi to propagate the sect, and to commemorate his wife, he changed his name of the system to Wing Chun Chuan. Therefore, Gu Yi Chuan ceased to exist in the secular world. This chronological history is quite different from Leung Chun's history in other books, but nothing is more powerful than the truth. There are then really 5 styles of Leung Chun extant, all with the same origin. The 5 styles are Gu, ancient or original style, the common style of the ordinary people, the Buddhist style, the Taoist, and the style practiced by the merchant class. Today, only 4 survive. Orthodox Wing Chun boxing contains 4 sets. 1. Xiu Ling Ta, in Mandarin, Xiao Lian Tou. 2. Chun Qiu, in Mandarin, Chen Qiao. 3. Biu Ji, in Mandarin, Biao Zhi. And 4. Xiu Ba Gua, in Mandarin, Xiao Ba Gua. After learning these 4 sets, one must then undergo further refinement, and then proceed to practice on a wooden dummy, as well as the 6 1/2 point staff, and at the Bat Jam, 8 beheadings. Knives when in an encounter with another, one's stance is neither square nor toed in. Bok Ding Bok Ba in Chinese. If one's opponent does not attack, one does not initiate a parry. These principles, which are expressed as mnemonic rhythm and phrase in Chinese, Ne Ba Loi go ba fa must always be adhered to. The Xu Ba Gua, Xiao Ba Gua set contains, or in English, the little 8 diagrams, contains a great variety of advancing and retreating footworks, and is a southern Shaolin close boxing method par excellence. Its emphasis is on speed, accuracy, and balance, and is merciless, using the force of the whole body, while at the same time paying strict attention to the posture and its various angles. These are separated as follows. Number 1, roundness. 2, flatness. 3, slightness. None of these are taken into account by the other styles of martial arts. At an even higher level, there are 4 kinds of thrusting power and 8 peerless actions, as they are vicious movements. The rhyme used to describe them states that upon attacking, one must be merciless. If my opponent does not attack, do not attack either. The 4 thrusting powers are Tung, swallowing; Do, spitting; Vam, floating; Chan, sinking. The 8 peerless actions are Bing, whipping; Gang, cutting; Wham, surging; Jong, to bump, to rebound; So, to squeeze; Puan, twist and entangle. Those who study Gu Yi Chuan take basic footwork, the use of muscular strength, as their basic training, and then proceed to learn straight energy and rising energy, the study of which is more profound and abstract. The study of rising power alone requires 6 or 7 years of arduous training to understand its subtleties. Even an exceptionally bright pupil in constant arduous training must still spend at least 2 or 3 years before he may comprehend its various permutations and subtleties. The standing fist and the initiation of power. The proper methods of making a fist is to forcibly curl the 4 fingers of the hand towards the center of the palm, and then press the thumb forcibly onto the middle finger. This way, one is less prone to injury. The straight line pursuing fist includes the learning of basic skill, the swallowing, spitting, floating, and sinking. It is set to develop stance, posture, hand techniques, and proper vision, as well as to teach the student to use every bit of power in his joints in every movement of every technique. The fist must be tight and spring forth from the elbow. In this manner, every punch has power, continuously without break, without waste of excessive strength. At the same time, each punch must be in coordination with the 6 powers. In this manner, we can attain unbelievable results. This set, although it appears simple, is still quite complex to learn and requires at least a year to learn. Else, one cannot absorb its deeper subtleties. At this, it is hoped that the astute pupil will not take this set lightly.
Tell me that he has a head muscle.
What do you got, some bread?
He goes like this, I have a head muscle.
What do I do, Brian? Just turn these over?
Both of them didn't finish.
Oh, this guy ain't finished.
Doesn't matter.
Shut him off?
Hit the stop button.
Watch out, man.
Don't touch any of that, Brian, but please don't
Stop.
tell me does not help you.
With every thrust, the teeth must be clenched, and simultaneously, the muscles of the neck must be flexed when punching. The midline of the body, waist, and back must be synchronized. The back rounds out. The waist is flexible and springy. The 6 powers are 1. Roundness, 2. Flatness, 3. Slightness, 4. Tun, toe, fall, chan, and 5. Bin, gan, wan, zhang, tan, chung, huan, so, and 6. Rising power, and straight power, and sinking power. The stomach is kept in, and the chest protrudes, and the eyes follow the hands, and the eyes must follow the movement of the hands, as the hands must coordinate with the advancing and the retreating of the feet. The waist is like rattan. The hands flow like water, and one stands firm as a mountain when learning. One must remember to refrain from using strength. All power must come from the movement of the joints. In this manner, one must not waste energy or injure one's energy from the added substance to its suppleness, and remain supple even when firm, without break. When practicing, one's energy chi can follow to where the mind directs it and flow through the whole body. Traceless and unhurried, it follows the blood circulation and promoting the unimpeded circulation of them both. It also regulates the circulation of the blood to the heart and the vital function of the lungs, restoring them to normality. In this manner, the body naturally becomes strong, although the sinking fist movements are few and seem simple. They are really anything but simple. Moreover, one must coordinate the 6 yings. Therefore, learning it is not easy. The student must practice repeatedly from the beginning, many times before a student may receive instruction. And like grasping power of Biao-ji must practice repeatedly before one can apprehend or comprehend precise straight power. Gu Yi Quan has 4 sets. The basic set, Xiu Lian Tao. The immediate set, Cham Q, Chen Qiao. The advanced set, Biao Ji, Biao Zhi. And the most advanced set, Xiu Ba Guo, Xiu Ba Gua, Xiao Ba Gua. SLT, that is, the Xiu Lian Tao, is the basic set of Gu Yi Quan. Therefore, one always begins with SLT. It is also known as Sam Bei Fat, or the 3 observances to Buddha, as it was originally Buddhist in its transmission. It is the powerhouse, mountain shaker of our style. In free fighting, whenever there's an opening, one uses 2 hands independently of each other in unison, one attacking and the other defending. Peculiar to this set are the waist, the immovable stance, and the individual or simultaneous action of the left and right hands. Although these movements are very simple, many people take them to be similar to movements in other boxing styles and try to explain their strike by strike. They are in fact quite dissimilar. Every movement in Gu Yi Quan is two-handed. And like other styles, a good analogy would be like visiting 2 separate letters simultaneously with both hands. Even patting one's head and rubbing one's stomach is hard for some of us. Techniques such as double gang sao, sweeping hand, can be changed infinitely in other hand maneuvers. The first form in Gu Yi Quan is called Xiu Ling Tao, SLT, which literally means small practice head, but implies that constant practice of movement is the necessary ingredient for success. Remember, practice makes perfect. The Hong Kong version calls this first form SLT Xiu Lim Tao, Xiu Lim Tao, which when translated means small ideas head, implying that one should think before acting, which is not a bad idea in some cases. In an actual encounter, fast reaction time is the determining factor in survival. Simply, the main difference in Xiu Lim Tao and Xiu Lim Tao is that the Wing Chun of Canton, the emphasis is on action before thought, where as in the Hong Kong version, is thought before action. In the fight, which would you prefer? The important points in Xiao Lian Tao are relaxation, the slowing down of the breathing process. Relaxation is achieved by some standing in a posture when one can gather one's energy, remain calm, dispelling or other thoughts from the mind, releasing mental tension, which leads to a complete relaxation of the whole body. Once the body is relaxed, the nerves are quieted and the muscles become softer. This phase of training is largely mental, almost spiritual, implying that the mind will relax and become calm. Slowing down in breathing while practicing Xiu Ling Tao, SLT, your primary concern should be to thoroughly familiarize yourself with the sequence of movements in the form, to the point of becoming a habit or natural response. Know the movement properly and accurately, then gradually increase the amount of time spent in the stance. The word slowness not only refers to action, but also to the state of mind. 3. Breathing. Invariably, a beginner will pant and gasp for air after a practice session, but this condition will be alleviated by sinking your breath to your navel dantian, or the diaphragm. Even during the strenuous exercises, the breath should be calm. The lungs should be filled with from the bottom up, from the diaphragm up. The breath should go directly to the abdomen, supplying the blood vessels with large amounts of oxygen, which will in turn relax the muscles, benefiting physical health and subsequently mental health. In the beginning, not only not to occupy yourself with breathing, Xiaoliantou will gradually improve your breathing automatically. Number 4, the strength. Finally, one learns the correct way to use strength. Our strength is reserved inside and can be sent to any part of the body. It is always alive and high-spirited, unlike the type of the strength used by weightlifters. It is internal. Thus, Xiuliantao SLT combines the training of body and spirit, exemplifying the teachings of Buddhism and Taoism. Stance training. Wing Chun's basic stance is called in Cantonese Yi Ji Kim Yang Ma, 2 fingers pinching the land. The width of the stance is measured according to each individual practitioner. The knees should never be as far apart as we all seen in other books between your knees while practicing Xiu SLT. Clearly, training with the book is more developmental. The stance is started with both feet together and knees bent, either pushing the toes apart, keeping the heels together. Without pushing the toes apart and keeping the heels together. From 8 step, which derives its name from the Chinese character 8. Next, on the ball, the feet push the heels apart so you're standing pigeon-toed. Back 8 step. Sinking the body and bending the knees will strengthen the knees and legs, making them steady and firm. SLT is taught in 3 parts. Following is a brief explanation of terminology and principles of the first Wing Chun form. Both hands are brought out and slightly downward from both sides of the body, palms facing toward the ground, left over right, with the inside of the left over the outside of the body. The right palm should be closest to the body. Pushing up the outwards with fingers pointing towards the sky, sharply pull both elbows back as if striking to the rear. Continuation of the captions with pictures. The Yat Jing Chuan is the first used in this style, and whether one is punching or striking with the open palm, the elbow always follows the center line of the body. The hand should be relaxed and without tension until contact when the fist is finally clenched. In the form Xiu Lim Tao, after the fist is issued forth. The hand should be spread open, palm up, gathering in the fingers. The palm rotates in a circle. counterclockwise for the right hand and clockwise for the left hand, towards the right to the body with the wrist at the inside axis. The circling of the wrist is called Hyung Sao. The elbow is sharply retracted towards the rear of the body. There will be more examples of retracting punches or palm strikes in the forms. Many people do not think these movements important, but retracting the striking hand abruptly is Leung Chun's most ruthless technique, especially when sticking closely to your opponent. Greatly amplified power can be produced, giving your opponent no chance to retaliate. Tan Sao, open hand, Fu Sao, and Fuk Sao trains one to remain supple while moving. These are the best methods for training power. In the shoulder, elbow, and wrist, Hyung Sao again plays the important part because the Tan, Fu, and Fuk Sao positions all be connected with Hyung Sao. The object of Hyung Sao practice is to make the wrists nimble and the articulate, strong yet pliable. When the wrists are nimble, one can stick closely to the enemy's breech hand and change hand techniques at will to coordinate with striking power, thus increasing one's force. Tan Sao, Fuk both train retention of the elbow to the center line. In Fu Sao, the fingers point straight up with the wrist in front of the sternum. The distance away from the sternum is determined by the elbow and its angle to the shoulder. To train upper body strength, Tan Sao and Fuk Sao are practiced in 1-to-3 ratio. In this manner, not only will the elbow have power, the wrist will as well. And the wrist will as well, and the power from the shoulders can be transmitted and changed into effective hand maneuvers as well as compensate for other shortcomings. Fuk Sao is the most effective way of neutralizing the enemy's breech hand. In fact, whether one uses fist, open hand, and Sao or grappling techniques to control the enemy's breech, all of these are just variations of Fuk Sao. Whenever you touch your opponent's incoming breech, simultaneously retracting your hand, the Fuk Sao is immediately thrust out straight ahead and changed to Biao-ji, attacking the eyes or throat. Fuk Sao and Tan Sao are indispensable techniques and to mutually give rise to neutralize each other, and they should not be neglected. Next, the Chi Sao, sticking hands. Kentang Wing Chun Gu Yi Quan Kun is composed of 4 empty hand sets. The Xiu Nian Tao SLT, Chan Q, Biu Ji, and Xiu Ba Gua. 3 of these are boxing sets. One set, Xiu Ba Gua, is the nerve center of one's learning. The forms are taught in the prescribed manner. First, Xiu Nian Tao is practiced for 3 to 6 months. Then the student applies what he has learned through Chi Sao practice for a period of time. Then Chan Q is practiced for time until the student can effectively apply the techniques from Xiu Nian Tao SLT and Chan Q together through sticking hands. The same applies to Biao Ji. All must be applied through sticking hands. From this, we can see that sticking hands is the essence of these most important skills. Every movement of each set while undergoing sticking hands is comprehended as to its use and applications, as well as impressing upon the pupil their correct positions and the proper strength to be used and the possible variations. In reality, this is free fighting, but one cannot let free fighting take precedence over sticking hands. Why? First, practice is not the same as a chance occurrence. Therefore, continuous progress over a long time is necessary. The flying fists and kicks of free fighting are difficult to control. The beginners will be hard put to use controlled strength, simple touching and stooping, and there will be absolutely no way of stopping each movement in order to take it and to comprehend it, as understanding hand techniques and their positioning is difficult, especially as to the accuracy and the amount of power, whether or not one's technique is appropriate. In free fighting, to be able to react to one's opponent, to be swift of sight, is an important factor. As soon as he moves, you must hit him first to make an opportunity to strike. Are all factors that the student should be allowed to completely understand the reasoning behind. Having undergone sticking hands techniques practice, employing simultaneous attack and defense, and when combined with the form of the Xiu Ba Gua set, changing and neutralizing becomes an even more advantageous form as far as variation is concerned. It is still best to undergo sticky hands in addition. In order to be able to comprehend the technique and to make them become habitual, this is the best method of making the perception sensitive to the opponent's reaction when proficient at sticking hands. The student's hands are always focused upon the opponent. In this manner, it is simple to comprehend the amount of strength and variations of the opponent's every move the pupil can. Then immediately utilize the opportunity for action or reaction. In free fighting, it is always take the initiative to close the distance with the opponent, to press the component so that the opponent cannot bring into play his longer bridge for wider horse stance. This allows one to make use of more effective and more nimble hand techniques, and on the other hand makes one component unable to perceive one's power or nimbleness. One connects with every strike. The movements are extremely important. One of the 8 diagram body maneuvers. Briefly, they may be said to be changes or way of changing body directions. In free fighting, the so-called front-facing posture, facing the opponent, is extremely important. One must never fix one's position according to the circumstances. Sticking hands is a kind of practical method. It can help the pupil to recognize and understand the opponent's body position and promotes endurance, perception, and reflexes. From this, the student reaches the level of skill where he can control and knock down the opponent. What then are sticking hands then? Sticking hands is the technique to recognize hand positioning. In the process of sticking hands, one must rely on the rules learned in the sets. Otherwise, it will lose its value and meaning. If the basics of the sticking hands are not learned well, the student in his anxiousness to learn ignore it, then he will not be able to understand fully the sets in this style. In sticky hands, one should be loose and relaxed to the point where the looseness of the joints and relaxation of the muscles should be expressed in the control over one's emotion as well, especially when beginning to learn sticky hands. It is vital that one represents one's emotion. If one is in a nervous state, one should practice sticky hands even more. To practice its response, when one is totally familiar with them, then one can be artful. One must always concentrate constantly exploring and investigating the techniques and their order to intuitively comprehend the physics of the style. Martial art is a kind of technical activity, not just applying theory to solve problems. What is learned must be combined with theory through sticking hands to unite in actual practice. Only through diligent study can one obtain ever more ingenious results. The last part is the 8 beheadings knife. The so-called 8 beheadings knife is none other than what is in ancient times was called the pig skinning knife. Later, this was changed to the less vulgar sounding 8 beheading or 8 beheading knife after the liberation of mainland China. My teacher simplified these 4 peerless or deadly essence of the knife style and distillating to these 8 forms so that the knife techniques will not be lacking in addition. It is easier for the untrained eye. It is plain and unadorned without any unusual character. Opponents therefore belittle it. This, however, is a fatal error, for the shorter the knife, the more vicious it can get. The simpler the techniques, the more accurate and true. And this is the reason behind it. There is a saying to the effect that a short knife is cruelest when in combat. The twin swords remain inserted in their sheath and kept unopened. The left hand grips the blade of the scaffold and displayed in this style, chuan shao, strike head. When fighting an opponent, one must be able to subdue him. But unless the opponent is to threat to your life, the twin knives must not be drawn. If they are drawn, the opponent must be stabbed. Such is the subtlety and ferociousness of the so-called 4 deadly strikes. 8-form knife is the enemy doesn't attack. I stay put with my hands, but as soon as he attacks, I show no mercy. That's the governing theory of the 4 deadly strikes. Employ the sect internal power for attack, and when combined with the subtle 8-form knife methods, they become the complete key to the knife style of this sect, a secret which is never passed on to outsiders. Outside of the Leung family, who retained the skill. I believe even those students who had achieved good proficiency were not taught the key to the knifing methods by itself, but instead learned 140 move. Even though these students only learned 140 move, the knife set, they were still formidable. However, they were still not able to fully comprehend the real meanings of the subtle secrets within the set. However, does one train the 8 beheading knives? Is it necessary first to set up a pose, then one take the knife and seriously and arduously practice upon the knife pose? Only in this manner can one can have results. Besides embedding the knife in the post, one also trains one's wrist strength, making the waist tendons powerful so that when confrontation with another, one has enough strength in the knife handle to make it difficult for the opponent to pull one's knife down with his weapon. To learn a knife set well, one must devote one's mind to it. Even then, it is very difficult, therefore, one must practice constantly, striving for the essence. The simpler, the better. One must take speed, accuracy, viciousness, and deadliness as the standards for achievement. is the foot techniques of Leung Kung Fu, as written by Henry Leung, the Grandmaster of the Canton Wing Chun Federation, as narrated by Dr. Su. Many people believe that this style of boxing, Leung Chun, only use hands but not feet. And furthermore, people believe that this style only concerned itself too much with the developing skills in the upper part of the body and neglect the use of the lower part of the body. In fact, such belief is greatly mistaken. The stance used in this style, Leung Chun boxing, usually emphasizes the figure 5, meaning 8, figure 8 foot posture. That is, 2 fingers leading the ship, which is both easy and high, erect, and which appears to be to the onlooker to be as a normal standing posture. Moreover, during sticky hands practice, it is very seldom when one has a chance to see a kick or leg action. As a result, most people get the feeling that the Wing Chun doesn't lay any stress on leg techniques at all. In fact, the leg technique of our style are as advanced as the hand technique. And it is because they are so advanced, not only are there no leg techniques in the basic set Xiao Ling Nian Tao, HLT, even the highest set Biao Zhi only has 2 or 3 simple leg raising actions. However, it is these simple kicks that enable the student to train the basics of the more forms and steady stance. There are really 8 kinds of leg techniques in our style. If one counts left and right, then there are 16 kicks all told. All 16 of these are hidden in the 116 movements on the wooden man. 3 kinds, or 6 if one counts left and right, are distributed among the 100 moves, and the remaining 26 wooden man techniques contain the other 5 leg techniques. That is 10 if one counts left and right, or at one in a gulp, as it were. What does that mean? The wooden man technique of our style are considered the acme of Wing Chun, and the final 26 techniques are the most prized. While my teacher was alive, he was reluctant to pass them on, even though to those who practiced his style. Very few truly understand the final 26 moves as a result. Not many clearly understand the applications of the 5 leg techniques contained therein. It is not strange then that most people mistakenly believe Wing Chun has hands but no feet. The special nature of our style's leg technique can be inferred from the above description. The 8 leg technique are all close techniques, usually used in conjunction with hand techniques, and when applied or destroy the opponent's ability to attack, as at the same time the 2 open different parts of this person to attack once, one is able to open up different parts of the person simultaneously. Then the close body leg techniques can be brought to bear. Training at this level is especially difficult, as one must learn to kick straight out from the chest at a distance of only 6 inches. Against this, an opponent has no way of practicing himself and protecting himself. And so it is considered a secret technique of this style, not indiscriminately passed on to others. Although Leung Chuan has only 8 seemingly ordinary and symbolic techniques, their sphere of application is especially broad. Although they are numbered only 8. They are used in conjunction with every possible hand technique to attack simultaneously. In a real fight, these 8 moves may be used with any hand technique at any time, if freely coordinated. Therefore, these 8 simple moves are just like the hands when one confronts an opponent. They become limitless, and they can attack at any time in any way. The viciousness of these techniques lies in that they attack the weakest area of the opponent as soon as one extends one's leg. One's opponent immediately loses his ability to fight as he's crippled. When my teacher was alive, owing to its deadliness, he has decided, in order to maintain his own reputation, he not only would not accept pupils indiscriminately, but they were ordered not to use these moves unless there was no other way to overcome the opponent.